It's been nearly 3 decades since that night in Paris when the world was frozen by a single headline: Princess Diana is dead. But now something has shifted. For the first time in 27 years, her former driver Colin Tebbit has broken his silence. And what he's revealed in a live TV interview has sent shockwaves through royal circles and reopened questions many believed were long buried. This wasn't just a routine recollection. This was a confession, a quiet man weighed down by decades of guilt finally speaking out, and what he said only deepened the mystery, stirring emotions that never truly faded. What really happened that night? Could it have ended differently? Was it preventable? As we dive into his long-awaited testimony, prepare for revelations that aren't just tragic but chilling. August 31st, 1997. Paris, the Pont de l'Alma Tunnel. Princess Diana, her companion Dodi Fayed, and their driver Henry Paul were traveling in a black Mercedes ST8, desperate to escape a swarm of paparazzi. Seconds later, the car smashed into the 13th pillar of the tunnel at high speed. Henry Paul and Dodi Fayed were killed instantly. Diana, gravely injured, died hours later at the Petit Salpêtrière hospital. Only one man survived: her bodyguard, Trevor Rees-Jones, barely clinging to life. French investigators quickly blamed Paul, citing his intoxication and the pressure of the paparazzi tailing them. But that explanation never sat right with millions. To convenient. In 2008, a British inquest officially labeled it unlawful killing, a verdict pointing fingers at both the reckless paparazzi and the man behind the wheel. But even that didn't silence the skeptics, because for some, this was more than an accident. This was a crime, a cover-up, a royal tragedy riddled with shadows. Colin Tebbit had been Diana's trusted chauffeur, a man she laughed with, confided in, and relied on during her most chaotic years. But that night he wasn't the one driving, and that haunts him. He shared through tears the moment everything changed. He was in bed beside his wife when the phone rang. Nothing unusual at first, until his wife handed him the phone and said, "You need to sit down." The voice on the other end was from Balmoral, and the words came like an earthquake. "There's been an accident. Diana's been hurt." Stunned, Colin turned on the TV, and there it was, flashing images of a mangled car. Newscasters scrambling for details, confusion, fear, silence. He dressed in seconds, drove straight to Kensington Palace, but nothing could prepare him for what he would soon hear. She didn't make it. At first, officials insisted she was only injured. Foreign Secretary Robin Cook even announced it on air, offering hope, but within hours, the truth emerged. Diana was dead. That brutal contradiction, public optimism versus private devastation, only fueled suspicion. And now Colin was given an impossible task: fly to Paris, retrieve her body. This wasn't just a job, it was personal. It was sacred. And as he boarded that flight to France, he knew this would be the darkest journey of his life. He wasn't alone. His wife, fluent in French, came too, acting as his lifeline in a city where he didn't speak the language. At the embassy, doors opened quickly. Everyone knew who he was. Everyone understood the weight of what he was there to do, but nothing could prepare him for what came next. The room was cold, silent, sterile. There, lying motionless, was the woman he had driven countless times, the woman the world adored. Colin stood frozen. "She's really gone," he whispered, and then he moved into action, silent, focused, broken. With no curtains on the windows and the media swarming nearby, Colin feared someone might try to photograph her. So he did something desperate. Using blankets, he covered the windows one by one. The heat in the room climbed quickly. But he didn't care. He fetched fans to cool the air, trying to preserve the dignity of the woman he'd respected, admired, and protected. Not even death would change that. Colin wasn't just there to escort a princess home. He was there to defend her memory from the relentless gaze of the world. Outside the hospital, chaos brewed. Journalists, photographers, spectators, hundreds gathered as if History itself was unfolding right there in the courtyard, but inside, Colin was consumed by one thought: keep them out, keep her safe. From the rooftop of a nearby building, he noticed suspicious movement. People, maybe media, maybe staff, were angling for a view. Even in death, Diana couldn't escape the lens. With no time to think, Colin acted. He shielded the windows. He stationed himself between cameras and the body. He stood like a sentry, protecting a fallen queen, because in that moment, Colin wasn't just her driver. He was her last line of defense. Amidst the grief, Colin recalled their time together. He remembered the car rides, the casual chats, the laughter that echoed in the back seat. Despite her global fame, Diana was disarmingly human. She joked, she teased, she listened. And they never fought, not once in their 2 years together. To Colin, she wasn't just her royal highness, she was someone real, someone kind. And as he sat in that suffocating room beside her lifeless body, those memories played on a loop in his mind, both a comfort and a curse. When asked about the crash itself, Colin didn't hold back. Ben Shepherd, the interviewer, leaned forward and asked the question on everyone's mind: was speed a factor? Colin's response was calm but pointed. The inquest, he explained, had torn every theory apart. Speed was analyzed from every angle. But still questions lingered. He described the tunnel with eerie clarity. Its strange layout, the trick of the light, the way trains passing through nearby stations could create the illusion of acceleration. To an unfamiliar driver, it could all feel wrong, disorienting, rushed. And then factor in the chase, the blinding lights of the paparazzi, the pressure, the noise. Colin called it a perfect storm. A tunnel built like a trap, a car pursued, a man impaired, and a woman already at war with the system she'd left behind. Colin's story didn't end at the crash. He recounted what happened next when Diana arrived at Petit Salpêtrière Hospital. It was chaos. Doctors rushed to assess her. They found extensive internal bleeding, damage so severe that immediate intervention was their only hope. X-rays revealed the truth. Her condition was dire. They operated. They fought. They hoped, but the clock had already run out. Dr. Monsef Daman, who led the emergency team, later confessed, when it's a princess and you follow her funeral with billions of others, you carry that with you forever. No one on that floor walked away unchanged. Even the surgeons, hardened by years of trauma, broke down. They didn't just lose a patient. They lost a global icon, and for many, it felt like a personal failure. Colin had faced the worst already, or so he thought, but planning Diana's funeral became the most complex operation of his life. It wasn't just the logistics. It was the weight of the moment. September 6, 1997, at precisely 9:08 a.m., the tenor bell of Westminster Abbey rang out. Diana's coffin, draped in the royal standard, was placed on a gun carriage. Her journey from Kensington Palace to the Abbey had begun. Crowds wept openly as the cortege passed through Hyde Park. Over 2,000 guests gathered inside the Abbey, while more than 3.2 million Britons watched from home. Among the mourners, Hillary Clinton, Luciano Pavarotti, George Michael, Elton John, who sang a haunting new version of Candle in the Wind, rewritten as Goodbye England's Rose. It would become the best-selling single in history. A final anthem for a fallen princess. And through it all, Colin stood in the background, watching, mourning, holding it together while the world fell apart. But Diana's story didn't end at her funeral, because almost immediately, the rumors began. Some claimed it wasn't an accident, that Diana had been targeted, silenced. Leading the charge, Mohammed Al-Fayed, father of Dodi Fayed. He accused British intelligence of orchestrating the crash, of eliminating Diana before she could marry his son. And his claims weren't random. In 2003, Diana's former butler Paul Burrell produced a handwritten note allegedly from Diana herself saying Charles planned to have her killed in a staged car crash. Brakes failed. Head injury, so he could remarry, asterisk true or not the world. Listen. And suddenly, the accident felt a lot more like an execution. As theories swirled, one question remained constant: were the paparazzi responsible? That night in Paris, at least 10 photographers were chasing Diana's car on motorcycles, in vehicles, even on foot. Asterisk the chaos was undeniable. But were they the true culprits? Some believed so. After all, they'd hounded Diana for years. Her every step, every glance was stalked and sold, but investigations told a different story. Asterisk French authorities determined that by the time of impact, the paparazzi were no longer tailing the Mercedes at close range. Asterisk and the British inquest in 2008 delivered a verdict of unlawful killing, not solely because of the press, but due to a deadly mix, a driver under the influence, a chase that spiraled out of control, and a tunnel with no margin for error. Asterisk still, public outrage remained focused on the press, the cameras, the flashbulbs. Because whether they caused the crash or not, they never stopped clicking even as Diana lay dying. But Mohammed Al-Fayed wouldn't accept any of it. He believed fiercely that his son and Diana were murdered, and he had a theory. Asterisk according to him, Diana was pregnant. The royal family, horrified by the idea of a Muslim stepfather to the future king, allegedly plotted to end the relationship permanently. Asterisk he claimed the crash wasn't spontaneous. It was orchestrated, a hit, with MI6 at the wheel and the palace pulling strings. Asterisk and he made sure everyone heard him. From press conferences to the courtroom, Mohammed demanded answers. Asterisk, but again, official investigations found no supporting evidence. Asterisk forensic tests later proved Diana wasn't pregnant. Her bodyguard, Trevor Rees-Jones, remembered no suspicious circumstances, only a desperate attempt to escape a media frenzy. Asterisk still, for millions, Mohammed's words planted a seed of doubt. Asterisk because sometimes it's not the truth that matters, it's the questions that never go away. With conspiracy theories spiraling, the British government was forced to respond. Asterisk in 2004. They launched Operation Paget, a full-scale inquiry led by Lord John Stevens, former head of Scotland Yard. Asterisk the goal: lay the theories to rest. The operation was massive, spanning 3 years, interviewing 300 witnesses and culminating in an 832-page report. Asterisk nothing was off limits. Asterisk investigators combed through French police files, re-interviewed witnesses, reviewed CCTV footage, analyzed crash reconstruction, even traveled to Paris for on-site testing. Asterisk the most intense scrutiny fell on Diana's emergency care team, particularly Dr. Monsef Daman. Asterisk accused of failing the princess. Daman submitted every record, every second of treatment, every cut, stitch, and heartbeat logged in forensic detail. Asterisk the findings: Diana had not been pregnant. There was no evidence of foul play. The crash, while tragic, had a clear explanation: a drunk driver speeding, chased by a horde of photographers. But even within the operation, there was unease. Asterisk Lord Stevens himself admitted to sleepless nights, hunted by the scope of the case and by what he didn't find. Asterisk because although the official line was airtight, the margins remained blurry. Asterisk one witness recalled seeing a flash inside the tunnel just before the crash, a theory suggesting a blinding light was used to disorient the driver. Asterisk it was never proven. Asterisk another pointed out inconsistencies in Henry Paul's toxicology report, leading to suspicions that it had been manipulated. Asterisk that, too, was never confirmed. Asterisk even forensic pathologist Angela Gallup, tasked with confirming Diana's non-pregnancy, admitted that her conclusions relied on tissue samples that had degraded over time. Asterisk in short, the evidence pointed toward accident but never quite slammed the door shut on doubt, and for many, that door is still open. As Diana's death continued to echo through headlines and hearts, some wondered if her fate was sealed long before Paris. By the late 90s, Diana was more than a princess, she was a force. Her public image had eclipsed the crown itself. She was working with landmine victims, challenging global leaders, building alliances with foreign dignitaries, and behind the scenes, she was reportedly planning something big, possibly moving to the US, starting a new life with Dodi, some whispered. She intended to start a foundation. Others said she was preparing to reveal secrets about the royal family, about her marriage, about everything. To some, she was no longer controllable. To others, she was dangerous. Back in the studio, Colin Tebbit fought to steady his voice. He spoke not as a former royal employee, but as a man forever marked by a single night. He remembered her perfume, her laugh, the way she sat in the back of the car, always with a soft thank you, but what haunted him most was the what ifs. What if he had been driving that night? What if the plans had changed? What if she hadn't been chased? And then came the hardest moment of all when he visited her body one last time before the flight home. She looked peaceful. But not at peace, and he swore, silently, to protect her dignity for as long as he lived. As Diana's coffin touched down on British soil, the skies darkened. The world felt colder. Flowers carpeted the gates of Kensington Palace, mourners wept openly in the streets. Millions watched, helpless, as her life was laid to rest too soon, to suddenly, and yet, through all the ceremonies, through all the speeches, something never settled. The feeling that this wasn't just tragedy, it was something deeper, a mystery with missing pieces. A puzzle that still doesn't quite fit. Diana's story didn't end in a tunnel or at a hospital, or in a golden casket surrounded by roses. Her story continues through her children, through her causes, through the questions no one has answered. Colin Tebbit's words have reopened wounds. But they've also reopened dialogue, not about scandal, but about truth, about accountability. About a woman who lived too boldly to be forgotten. And so we ask you, do you believe it was simply an accident? Or do you, like so many, feel that the real story remains hidden somewhere beneath the silence? Let us know in the comments. And if you want more untold stories like this one, subscribe and join us again next time. Because the past is never really over, not when it leaves this many unanswered questions.